Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. We want to continue with the Aqeedah of Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. Normally we would do Ulum al-Qur'ani today, but because of the issue that I explained in the first class, the series I'm doing, and inshallah by next week we'll be back to regular schedule, inshallah. So we are taken from a book that was written, Aqeedah al-Imam al-Nawawi. What's his Aqeedah? And we said again, why do the people bid'ah pick him? Number one, because he's famous. His works are in everybody's house. Everybody praises and loves the Imam. And if you're going to spread and propagate something, you have to have someone in front of you. You have to have someone in front of you in order to certify what you're saying, or to make what you're propagating saying that it's worthy of someone taking. This is the same idea when people fabricate hadith and say the Prophet said. In order to get what they feel is an idea, in order to get what they think is something that people will take, the best way is to say the Prophet said it. Most people say, oh, the Prophet said it? That's it. They just take it. They don't investigate. They would never assume someone would stoop that low to lie on the Nabi. Similarly, when you say Imam al-Nawawi, he was Imam, that means that's it. I have an Imam. Because Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he said, Wo liman, or he said, Way liman ja'a bi shay wa laysa lahu imaman. He said, and person should be aware of coming with a belief or a practice, and he doesn't have an imam from the imams of Islam to support his claim. So if you say, well, Imam Nawawi, he was imam, then that means everything he take, it's like worthy of taking, and don't debate that he was imam. And imam in this case again means someone who's a great imam. His works, his efforts, they're on the side of being right more so than not. So that's why they chose Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. And we said that there's a big debate. Some people ask, is he from the Imams? Is he from Ahlul Sunnah or not? Everybody says Imam, but is he considered from Ahlul Sunnah or from Ahlul Bid'ah? So most of the scholars, they said he's from Ahlul Sunnah. He's not from Ahlul Bid'ah. Although he has some statements of Ahlul Bid'ah, the majority of his teachings, the bulk of his work, what he was known for is propagating the Sunnah, defending the Sunnah, talking against innovation. Then how can he be other than from Ahlul Sunnah while he has some mistakes? This is why we said that the people better choose Imam al-Nawawi kind of to like hide behind him. Wallahu musta'an. So this particular segment, we're going to just mention some of the statements of the people of knowledge that proves the wrong positions. Because when you talk about the people of knowledge statements, you always have somebody of knowledge during his time, Imam al-Nawawi, after his time, that would agree with some things that's wrong. That's just how it is. Some people think the same, some people were influenced the same, like this. But what is sought from this Aqeedah of Imam al-Nawawi is to show what statements of falsehood the ulama brought evidence to prove that it's false. Because that's the whole idea. You want to deal with what's false. And not what somebody brought that may coincide with what somebody said, although it's false. so that people will not be confused. تَمِسُوا عَمْرَ عَلَى أَحَدٍ, so that no one can be deceived. Also, we will say what Imam al-Nawawi said, then we will mention what the ulama said in opposition to that statement to show that it's wrong. From the Salaf and from the people Khalaf, Mubarazin. Yani Salaf mean those before, Khalaf mean those contemporary. So we're going to mention both what the people of the past said and those of this time that mention against what Imam al-Nawawi said to show the falsehood in that statement, so that people won't be tricked because he was a great Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala. And the first thing should be noted that in this regard, we're not going to mention every statement. And this is because some statements of the Salaf were very shadidu to jiddin. For example, if we mention something that the Salaf said to show that Imam al-Nawawi was wrong, there may be some other statements that people know that, why would he mention this statement? Because some statements of the people of the Salaf were like, shh. And we don't want to say those statements because he was Imam. Yeah. We're trying to, harness his works, preserve his honor. But some, and you'll have some people in the past, their statements will be mentioned because if you mention those statements, ain't going to be none left. Yeah. So we're not going to mention those people's statements. We're going to mention those statements that are kind of like, showing where he was wrong, but not the statements that would desecrate Imam al-Nawawi. And some of the Salaf have some real, statements shadid jiddan, in that regard. So we won't mention those statements. And some statements we will not mention all of the statements of Imam al-Nawawi because there are so many. So many. So it's going to be selected, those that are probably most important, most prominent, or in the different areas. Not everything, because some of them, there are too many. And again, we're not going to mention any statements that agree with Imam al-Nawawi, because you have some statements like that. And we won't mention every statement that people said against what he said, because some of them were too harsh. And the statements that we will mention are those statements, laysa min aqwal ahlus sunnah. They're not from the people of the sunnah. The statements we're going to mention, the statements that are not from the statements of ahlus sunnah. And why do we mention that? Because again, people bid'ah, they mention the statements that's not from ahlus sunnah. Then they mention statements of ahlus sunnah, and they say, see, all of this is okay because he was imam and this is the way of the sunnah. We're ahlus sunnah. For example, in Nawawi, ankara as-sifat. If Imam al-Nawawi disapproves of a action of Allah, we're not going to mention those people, al-aqwa alladhina yathbitu, Imam al-Nawawi, those who agree with it. We want to mention al-aqwa alladhina takallimu alladhi ankaruha. We want to mention the statements of those who disapprove of that from Ahlul Sunnah with the evidence. And this is what is the thing that we're trying to achieve, that. So again, the people won't be deceived. The next thing we want to mention, second thing, is that when we talk about what is the evidence, aslu hujjah is your evidence. So you have someone that can bring the hujjah, but maybe his hujjah is not
from the people of the past. Hujjah just means to bring your proof. Like Allah said, "Hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin." And kuntum sadiqin. Bring your proof if you're truthful. But sometimes people bring a proof that's not a proof that's acceptable. Sometimes people bring a proof that's not acceptable. So when we say the proof, we're talking about fahmi al-wahi al-awwalin, how the people, the early generations understood that text. It's very important. Like Imam Malik mentioned, لا يصلح هذه الأمة آخر هذه الأمة إلا بما يعني صول إلا بما يعني صلح أولها. That the end of this ummah cannot be rectified except by that which the early part of this ummah was rectified with. If you try to find a different way, it's not going to work. So when we say hujjah or evidence, we mean the evidence the way it's understood by the early Muslims, the first Muslims, the Prophet Sallam, Sahaba, Tabi'in, Tabi'in, and not somebody's imam down the line 500, 600, 700 years, 200 years after them, but you don't include them. No. But we may mention the likes of some narrations, I should say the likes of what some people have said about the narrations from the past and the present, because that has to be done. But the origin of what we deal with is what the early generation said first. So we're going to go and mention now some of the statements of Imam al-Nawawi with the Sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from his own writings and his own works, rahimahullah ta'ala. The first issue, mas'alatul ula, the first issue, inkar al-uluwillah, al-inkar uluwillah. Imam al-Nawawi does not accept and he disapproves of Allah being aluwan, Allah being above everything. And Imam al-Nawawi, when he talks about the hadith al-jariyah, what is the hadith al-jariyah to? Hadith al-jariyah to is when Muawiyah became upset because one of his sheep got away. Jariyah means the young servant girl. And he smacked her. He was upset. His anger got the best of him. He smacked her. You let one of my sheep get away? Psh! After his anger subsided, he felt bad about it. He went to the Nabi. Told the Nabi the story. Then he felt bad. He smacked her. The Prophet said, bring her. And the reason Rasulullah said, bring her, because for wronging someone who is a servant, there's a penalty. But the penalty for the one who's a believer is that they get their ransom. For all those people who say Islam is a slave religion, how about this? If someone was a servant of yours, that's the nice way of saying, a slave, a servant, and they work for you, and they are a non-believer or a believer, they have rights. But if you wrong the believer, then that believer can be emancipated because of your wrong. SubhanAllah. So the Prophet said, bring the jariyah, bring the young servant girl. And the hadith is known in the Bukhari, Muslim, and others. So the Prophet asked the Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ain Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, where's Allah? Qala fi sama. She said, fi sama. Literally, fi sama could mean in the heavens, it can mean above the heavens. Fi doesn't just mean in, it also means ista'la, above. As Allah said, وَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Siru, travel. Fil ard, fi, in. Ard, the land. So is Allah telling you to get inside of the earth and travel? This ayah? No. What is Allah telling you?
To travel.
Huh? Fi means in. So if we take the meaning
Fi means and, as Allah said, wasiru fil ard, and travel inside the earth.
No, travel on the earth.
Upon the earth. Ma fi shani dakhil fi tarab, not inside the dirt. Dig a tunnel and move around, and you can see the land and the people. They were destroyed. You can't. How are you going to do that underneath?
No, you can't.
So fi means from that ayah in, and it also means on top. Here it means on top. So when the Jariyah said fis sama'i, Allah's in the heavens, or when she said fis sama'i, does fis sama'i here in Arabic mean in the heavens or above the heavens? Above the heavens. The Prophet said, and he asked in addition, who am I? She said, Anta Rasulullah. He said, Ittaqaha fa innaha mu'minah. Yani free her, she's a believer. This now, Imam al-Nawawi comments on this hadith. قال Imam al-Nawawi رحمه الله تعالى هذا حديث الصفات. This is a hadith talking about the descriptions, actions of Allah. He said, وَفِيهَا مَذْهَبًا. فِيهَا in this hadith, مَذْهَبًا, two teachers. Madhab means, normally people think Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Shafi, Ahmed. No. Madhab means something that you see, something that you go with, something that you apply, something that is your reasoning for saying and taking the judgment. Madhab has a long, broad meaning. So he said in this hadith, fihi madhabani. There's two types of thinking, two types of things that come with this hadith, Imam Nawawi. And this is in his book called Kitab al-Iman. It's in his book. And also, you'll find that Imam al-Nawawi has other books where he talked about Iman, like his explanation of Sahih Muslim. But he has a book where he wrote about Iman before he gave explanation to Sahih Muslim, in which, in doing that, he's going to have to comment on the same hadith and Kitab al-Iman. So in his book, Iman, he says, Imam Nawawi, one of the madhabs, ahaduhuma, one of the two, understandings from this hadith. Madhab means understanding, or a thing you can go with, or a thing you can believe. He said, Iman fi ghayri khawdin fi ma'na. Al-imanu billahi bi ghayri khawdin fi ma'na. This means we don't know how Allah rules. So this is one madhab, he said. We don't know how Allah rules. Without going into the meaning, we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not rules, because it's not the hadith. We believe that Allah is above everything, or in the heavens, or above, whichever way you took that meaning, without going into what it means. We just say that the Prophet said, and he agreed that the young girl said Allah is fi samai. But we won't say fi means in or above. That's one madhab, one teaching, one observation, one view that Imam Nawawi says we take from this hadith. And that means if someone asks you about this, you say, I don't know. We don't know about the meaning. All we know is the hadith is this. That's it. And we should understand, no matter what, we should still believe laysa kamithlihi shay. Whatever you say, it's not like Allah. That clause has to always be there. But, if you erase that clause, then we're not going to talk about how this hadith should be interpreted, that Allah is fi samai. We don't know. We can't go into that. Leave that alone. And to say that we don't know and we can't talk about it, they think tanzihi an makhluqati, that this makes Allah remove from being human-like. So to say we don't know, Imam Nawawi, the first way he's looking at this hadith about the young girl said Allah fi sama, and in one narration she pointed with her finger.
said Fis Sama, did like this. Illustrate. Ishara, like this. And in another word, she said Fawqa Sama. They don't bring that. Fawqa Sama means above, like this is Fawqa. Yadi yani Fawqa Mada Tabala. My hand is above the table. Yani the rut, yet Fawqa the rut, my hand is above my head. So Imam Nawawi was saying, we don't know, we leave that. We just believe in the text without without going and digging into trying to explain. That would make us not make Allah like humans. And explaining it will make Allah like a human. And the second, yani understanding bima yuliku bihi. We say in a way that's only befitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then after that, Imam Nawawi brings a ta'wil al-Jahmiyyah. Now he gives explanation of those people bid'ah. So you find Imam Nawawi doing two things in the beginning. Saying, we don't know, we're going to leave that alone so we can remove Allah from being like a human. Because they believe if you say that this means that and that means this, you're going to end up making Allah like a human. SubhanAllah. And second, we just say what Allah says and you say, bima yaliku li jalalatihi, in a way that's befitting only to Him in accordance with the ayah, laysa kamithlihi shay, nothing is like Him. Now he's going to give some explanation. He's going to give explanation. So this shows that Imam Nawawi has stages, and you could see like why they try to align him with their beliefs, the Asha'ir and the Mu'tazila. One of them, he said, Imam Nawawi, that if a person إذا دعاه الداعي, if the one who makes the claim says استقبل السماء, that he's facing the sky, he said just like إذا صلي مصلي استقبل الكعبة, like a person when he prays he faces the Kaaba. And those people are not inside of the Kaaba. Just like we can't say Allah is hasra fi sama, He's inside of the sky and the sky is around Him. Then he says, this is a false interpretation, because this is what they seek to say. If we say like the slave girl, the jariyah, the servant girl, we say Allah is in the sky and the sky is containing Him. Like gases, like the clouds, like the different things. And so we can't say that, because if we were to say that Allah is in the heavens, that's just like when you face the sky, then we will have to equivocate that to facing the Kaaba when you pray. Do people go in the Kaaba when they pray? No, they face the Kaaba. So saying that they're facing the Kaaba, it's just like a person, if they said they face the sky, they're looking at the sky. But to say Allah fis samai, that means Allah is inside the sky, like if a person went inside the Kaaba. So you can see this is the Jahmiyyah. This is why they refrain from saying fis samai, because they believe the only way that you understand that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is turufan dakhil fis sama, that Allah is contained in the heavens, that Allah is in the sky, like birds and planes and rains. So thus they say, no, we can't say that Allah, we can't use any ayah of the hadith that says that. We have to negate that ayah of the hadith or change the meaning. And of course, it's not permissible, the ulama said, to say, ain't Allah, where's Allah? And you say, fi Kaaba, Allah is in the Kaaba. So how can you say, ain't Allah, where's Allah? And you say, fi samai, He's in the heavens. If you can say that, then you can say Allah is what? It's in the Kaaba. Allah musta'an. Fi kulli makan. So they say, to prevent from being able to say that, just say,
Allah can't be any place, or we don't know, we don't explain. Well, Allah Sunnah said He's above the heavens, and He's above the heavens. He's above the heavens in a way that's befitting to His majesty. That's what we say, how He is above the heavens, the way that's befitting to His majesty. He knows, we don't know, but we say that He's above the heavens, and when we say how, in a way that's befitting to His majesty, not like humans. Now, and the same thing when we say that said Imam Nawawi is given this analogy that you don't say where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, you negate the sifat. If you would say fi sajda, when you say fi sajda, do that mean anta tahta al-ard, you're inside the ground? No, you mean you're above the ground, but you say fi sajda. Ana fi sajda, I'm in sajda. Do you mean you in the ground or above the ground? Above the ground. Now, so we understand that, and this, by the way, is one of the meanings in the Arabic language of fi. Again, it does not always mean contained or within. It also means at times above. It also means at times above. Now, so this is Subhana Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma musta'an. This part, Allahumma musta'an, Imam Nawawi has another statement that said that the same way when you say people who worship idols, Abdul Othan, if you say that, if you say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the slave girl, Fis Sama, she's in the heavens, then people will try to say this is a way to say that she's muwahid, because she's saying that other than what the people who are the idol worshippers say, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's not on the ground, like a statue or something that they would say these are their gods. And this is most of what the ulama would say, is none of these statements to philosophize and so forth like this. And Imam the Salaf that said لا يتكلم في معنى, that we don't talk about the meaning of the likes of these sifat. So now what we bring in opposition to what Imam Nawawi said, the Salaf said لا يتكلم في معناها, that we don't talk about the meaning. We don't. And this is what Imam Nawawi said in the beginning, but then he went into giving explanations. So you can see Allah Musta'an, it's better to not give any type of definition, to just say that Allah is above His throne. Bima yaliku. Yalik means what is suitable. Bima yaliku li jalalatihi. What is suitable for His loftiness. So that is the best way to describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any name that He has, an attribute, that it is that which Allah said, Bima jalika li jalalati. It's suitable to His greatness. So there's no room for the mind, the imagination, and all of these things. And Imam Bukhari, he brings something to give credence to. We don't tried to explain the sifat of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. It said, and this is given them extra clarity. This is tabyin. Tabyin is to make clear that that the term istiwa means alu. So this is one way, if you're going to describe from the way of the Salaf, this particular sifat that Allah is fi sama, you say istawa is the eye of Rahman, istawa. What is the meaning of istawa? Istawa means ulu. Ulu. To be someone who's above, ulu. But the people of bid'ah, they say istawa bima'na istawla. Istawla means to conquer. Istawla'a. Istawla'a. Alif, Sin, Ta, Waw, Lam, and then there's a Alif wa Madda and the Ham. Istawla'a means to conquer. But the ayat, Allah said, istawa. Istawa, Rahman al-Arsh istawa. Istawa'a. So istawa means alu, to be above. And it doesn't mean that you conquer something or take over something. Because like, for example, to sit like this as a human, this would be istola, to take control of the chair. But when Allah Azza wa Jal said Rahman al-Arsh istawa, He doesn't mean He had to take over the chair and sit like a human. He means that He's above the chair. How would we figure that out? How would we describe that? We can't. We just say what the ulama understand from the Arabic language, what the Salaf mentioned, alu, that it means He's above. Because if it meant that istawa means istola, then that would mean He's on the chair. He's on the throne. He's on the place, and that means He's restricted. Where if He's above everything, then He's not restricted. He's above everything. And this would give Him the ability to be above something, and at the same time, yanzilu, to descend. This would give Him at the same time to be kulli makan, everywhere, bi'ilmihi, with His knowledge, wa basarihi, with His seeing, because He's alu. Alu means you're superior over everything. Nothing controls you. Nothing restricts you. And you're in full control of that thing. But if you say istola, then that means like some competition. You have to, defeat something to get what you need. And then, what happens if something defeats Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Wal-a'yadu billah. So this is one of the benefits of the statements of the Salaf, the early Muslims. And Imam Bukhari brings that in his Sahih, that the meaning of istawa means alu. Alu. And this is why the ulama, they mentioned that Allah is alu. Because Allah mentioned in the Quran, annahu aluwan kabira, annahu aluwan kabira, that He, Allah, is alu. He's above everything, superior, and kabira, great. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned ilayhi yas'adu kalimatu tayyibah. To Him goes up the good statements and actions. وَيَرْفَعُهُ. And He يَرْفَعُهُ, He raises that person or the statement up to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning He commands the angels to bring the recording up to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah said at least in 7 places, Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa, thumma istawa al-Arsh. Now, so this Imam Bukhari and others from the Salaf, this is the evidence they bring to show the opposite of what Imam we mentioned, that we don't go into the meaning, or that if we went into the meaning as the slave girl did, then that would mean that Allah is inside the sky like a person. If he went inside of the Kaaba, and when you say a person turns his face, lillah, turns himself to Allah, his face to Allah, it means in the direction of, and not necessarily he's turning his face in the heavens like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're mentioning, is described, rather than saying that fi means above, ulu. Now, so if you take this whole issue, the best way to describe what the Salaf said about this is that we believe in what Allah He says. And if He says He's astawa, we say we believe Allah says that. And we say bima yaliku bihi li jalalatihi. And this is based upon what's befitting for His greatness. Not in a low way we will ever say anything that's similar to humans about the meaning of istawa. And that we don't try to give a meaning away from it. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laysa kamithlihi shay. He's not like any of His creation, so we can never say that trying to describe it makes Him human. And when we say that the meaning of this word, then we have to say, as the Salaf mentioned, it means alu, rather than the saying that istawa means fi, inside something that is contained. But the people of Bid'ah, they say al-alu means that you have made Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have made Allah azza wa jal in a particular place. And for us to be from the people who are right, we have to negate al-ulu, we have to negate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ulu. And this will take you from the statement of Ahlul Sunnah to the statement of Ahlul Bid'ah if you said that Allah is not Alu. Now we're going to mention what some of the Salaf, the ulama, said about the statement of Imam al-Nawawi. Yazid ibn Harun. Yazid ibn Harun is from the ulama of the Salaf. He says, he died مئتين المتوفي 206. He died 206 years after the death of the Prophet. So you can see he's like in that the latter part of the third generation with Imam Ahmad. He's in the latter part of the generation with Abdul Razak al-San'ani. He's in that part of with Yahya ibn Ma'in, Ali ibn al-Madini. He's in that area of the Tabi'een, Itba' Tabi'een, like this. So, he mentioned Yazid ibn Harun, who died 206. He said, "Man tawaham," whoever has the view. Tawaham here means from his own mind that Allah Azza wa Jal saying Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa. Allah saying Ar-Rahman, yani rules above His throne, is in opposition. Whoever says that whoever says different from that, he says huwa khilaf ma fi qulub al-ibadi. is other than what Allah put naturally in the person. If you say that Allah Azza wa Jal's statement, Rahman al-Arsh istawa, doesn't mean that, then Yazid ibn Harun said, this is khilaf ma fi qulubik, mada ibadi. Allah innately put something in everybody that He knows Allah is up. And many times it's said, people who even claim they don't believe in nothing, the atheists, this and that, when something happened, they look up to say, oh God! Why they look up? Why they don't look down and say, oh God? Why they look up? Innate, yeah. SubhanAllah. That's a statement of Yazid ibn Harun, who died 206, from the ulama of our Salaf. He said, and in another narration, he said, Khilafa ma fi qulub ammati fuhuwa jahmi. He said, in another wording, he said, whoever says that Allah Azza wa Jal is not above His throne, it doesn't mean that he is in opposition to the general, what everybody has in his heart, and he has the belief of the Jahmiyyah. Allah Musta, Jahmiyyah. Ibn Jarir, Miatin wa Sitta. Ibn Jarir, that's the Imam Ibn Jarir at-Tabari. He's the first one to make tafsir. Ibn Jarir at-Tabari. And Ibn Kathir copied and took his type of tafsir and added chains and made it more authentic. Where Ibn Jarir just wrote his seerah style, like we said, you just write. So you might be bringing hadith as authentic, those are not authentic statements. You're just writing as to what's reported. That's Imam Muhammad ibn Jarir at-Tabari. He says, Al-Jahmiyatu zanadiqatu wa yuriduna annahu ala arsh istawa. He said that the Jahmiyah are zanadiqa. Jahmiyah zanadiqa. Zanadiqa is a term used for people who have made the bid'ah that takes them outside of Islam. Now, in the beginning, we said we didn't want to mention all of the statements because some of the Salaf has some statements that shadid jiddan. Imagine somebody saying something stronger than this about Imam al-Nawawi. He just mentioned the one who makes this statement, Imam al-Tabari, that person, that the Jahmiyyah and the Asha'ir, they're one and the same, by the way. The Jahmiyyah or Asha'ir, they are one and the same. Imam al-Tabari, he said, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُونَ, what they intend, لَيْسَ عَلَى الْأَرْشِ اسْتَوَى, what they intend by changing the meaning or saying we can't talk about it, they mean that Allah is not above His throne. And He called them Zanadiqa. That term Zanadiqa means bid'ah that takes you outside of Islam. Allah knows that. Again, these are from our Salaf mentioning against the statements of Imam al-Nawawi and others from amongst the Asha'ir and the Mu'tazila. To the Jahmiyyah, and then inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, we mention one more statement after this and we'll stop. To the Jahmiyyah, yunkiruna hadhihi al-ayah. Do they reject the ayah outright or not?
Yes.
No, they don't. They don't reject the ayah outright because they quote the ayah.
They quote it.
But yunkiruna mada ma'naha. They reject the meaning of the ayah. And the meaning comes with the ayah. As Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he said, Ijma'u al-ulama'u. All of the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah agree. And that the Quran, nazala, it has been sent down, bil haruf, with its words, wal ma'an, and its meaning. All of the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah agree, because Ibn Taymiyyah mentions this in his Majmu' al-Fatawa, and this Majmu' al-Fatawa, that all of the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah, they agree that the Quran was revealed with words and meaning. Would it be thinkable that Allah just sent a bunch of words and they have no meaning for us to be guided by? Of course not. So it has a meaning.
So this, they mentioned that Allah, the Jahmiyyah said, Laysa, and for them to not, again, look at the politics and the games. If they were to say this ayah doesn't exist, everybody would say kafir. Because this is mentioned 7 different places in the Quran. Allah mentioned at least, Shaykh Salim and Ta'wil mentioned at least 1,000 different ways in the Quran. He mentioned that he's aluwan. At least 1,000 different ways. But with the word Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa, istawa is mentioned 7 times in the Quran in that word. So if someone was to say, you can't say that, that means they're erasing the ayah. That's a pure kafir. But what they're going to do is, reject the meaning. And to reject the meaning, then this gives them the ability to say that Allah Azza wa Jal, He is mustawlan ala al-arsh, to change the meaning. He is conquering the arsh, as the Jahmiyyah say. And to say that He conquered it, then this is one of the meanings also that makes Him like a human. So those who say don't give any meaning, then they are the ones that they say that, because if they say istawla is the meaning of istawa ala al-arsh, then they make Allah like a human. So you could see 2 groups. Those that say istawla, to keep from saying that He rose above His throne, He conquered, then that makes Allah like a human. And those who say we're not going to give any meaning to it, then this also is what they do to prevent saying that Allah rose above His throne. And both of these statements of the Jahmiyyah. Sa'id ibn Amr. Sa'id ibn Amr, another one of our salaf. Sa'id ibn Amr, who died 208. He died 208. It said, كل من السلف يقولون الجهمية الشر، they are the worst. الشر قولا من اليهود والنصارى. They have worse statements, the Jahmiyyah, than the Jews and the Christians. This is from some of the statements of our Salaf that Sa'id ibn Amr al-Dubayli, he died 208. That their statements are worse than the Jew and the Christian, the Jahmiyyah. Said, "Kad ajma'u Yahud wa Nasara," that the Jews and the Christians all agree that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aluwan ala al-arsh. And you think about it, they say the good Lord above the heavens, the good Lord in the heavens. When you die, they say everybody's going to heaven to be with the Lord. هذا يهود والنصارى صحيح ما أن فيهم الشرك وماذا الله المستعان والكفر. Why they still have kufr and shirk? They believe Allah فوق السماء هكذا نعم. So Allah المستعان. This is like why you got to go back to the statements of the Salaf with regards to these issues, because they put the things in their context, and you can see why they had to fight with these people, although those people claiming Islam and maybe praying and fasting. اعتقادهم أقوالهم الشر من اليهود والنصارى. That's heavy. That statement is worse. The Jahmiyyah or Mu'tazila, worse than the Jew and the Christian. Allah musta'an. Who Allah already said these people are kufaran, the Muslim, highly wa Islam, Muhammad Rasulullah. Believe, you claim in the book of Allah, believe in the Nabi, and have statements worse than the Jew and the Christian. Allah musta'an. We'll take one more statement, inshallah ta'ala, then we'll stop for questions. And Maymun, he is the one who was in charge
during the time of Imam Ahmed, كان الولي يعني نعم الميمون Baghdad. And he's also from the one that some of the students of Imam Ahmed, they asked him this question, Maymun. This is the one we said again, that Imam Ahmed didn't make him a kafir like the likes of Bishr Marisi and Ibn Abi Duat. Because Bishr ibn Marisi and Ibn Abi Duat, now you go do your research. If you type in Bishr ibn Marisi right now, in Sheikh Google, you type in Yani Ibn Abi Duat, it's going to come up who they were, the statements, the groups, they knew. Maymun was muqaddid li ha'ula. He was blind following those people because again, they were the shuyukh of the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah. They were pushing this thing that Quran is created. Adam billah. This goes along with the belief that we're talking about now, that Allah, He doesn't speak, that He didn't take Ibrahim as Khalilullah, and He didn't speak to Musa. So all of this is the aqa'id of the Jahmiyyah and Mu'tazila. So the Quran is created. So Ma'mun, the leader, Imam Ahmed didn't make him a kafir because he knew it was jahl. له عذر بالجهل وصبر إمام أحمد على هذه يعني مصيبة منه مع أنه يكفر ماذا بشر بن مريسي وابن أبي يعني دعاء. While he made Bishr bin Marisi حكم عليهم بالكفر and Abi يعني Ibn Abi يعني Duat. These were the heads of the Sha'ir, the Mu'tazila during that time. But Maymun, Imam Ahmed never revolted against him, never called the people against him. He would just tell him, bring your evidence. If you say Quran is created, Allah doesn't speak, had to burhanakum. Maymun couldn't do it. And eventually, after ulama, Duriba, wa Sujana, wa Udhiya, they were tortured, they were beat, they were in prison, wa Kutila, some of them were killed. Imam Ahmed in prison, released in prison, released in prison. Many of them got killed. Some of them got tortured. Some of them will say Quran is created, save their life. And when they let them out, and they're in their masjid or in their halaqah teaching, then they would say, when people ask, no, Quran is not created, then the authorities would chain them, take them, they will be beat again. Finally, Imam Ahmed, Allah just blessed him to tell them, if, we defeat your scholars, this big debate, if we prove them wrong, this will be the end of this fitna. Do you agree? And they agreed, and Allah gave the fitna that they had a whooping, and Imam Ahmed became known as Imam Ahlul Sunnah because he was the one that Allah chose to keep the dawah, the aqidah, the manhaj of Ahlul Sunnah alive during all of that fitna. So this Imam Ahmed, his students, they asked Maymun, and this is the last point, showing you they used to talk with the leaders, debate with the leaders, give da'wah to the leaders, but they also were tried by the leaders. They said, so Maymun, he said, Ya Aba Abdullah, ماذا تقول بهؤلاء الجهمية? What do you say about those Jahmiyyah? ما تقول في من قال? What do you say about the one who says إن الله ليس على العرش? Now this narration is important because this is the same Mahmoud that believed that the Quran was created. So you see Quran is created, Allah is not above His throne. All of them go together. They're not separate because this is the aqa'id of the Asha'ir, of the Mu'tazila. So he's asking Imam Ahmad, what do you say about those people that's going around saying that Allah is above His throne? Imam Ahmad said, Kalam, kulluhum yudur ala al-kufr. All of it is statements that makes them disbelievers. And inshallah ta'ala, we will just say in conclusion that again, the whole claim that whoever believes like this, they are kuffar.
And one of the brothers, he told me, when he kept asking me about this issue, and I made this istikhara, and I made this istikhara, and I made this istikhara, and I finally decided to say something, that this is what these people of the Ashari movement, they do to us. They make us kuffar. And, wallahu alam, Allah only knows if we weren't in a situation like we are now, especially in America and in many places where they have some type of leadership and some system, maybe it will be bloodshed because they've already deemed us to be kuffar because of this belief. And in actuality, they are the ones who are kuffar. But you still see udhr bijahl, the exception for the one who's ignorant. And we say this all the time, while they say we make everybody kafir. And the innocent, we will spill their blood, and this one and that one. Which again, you see this narration, Imam Ahmed, if we're following the way of our Salaf, and they're following the way of the Prophet and his Sahaba, then we have to have udhr bijahl. Sheikh Mukbil mentioned, we have to give the excuse to the one who's ignorant. Allah said, the one who knows, can it be equal to the one who doesn't know? Can't be. Allah said, la. Is the one who can see equal to the blind, and the one who's deaf equal to the one who can hear? No. Allah mentioned these parables in the Quran to show you that. So Maymun was never went against by Imam Ahmed. He was never revolted against by Imam Ahmed. He never called the people against him. Only thing he did was be patient with him and to ask him what's his evidence. And you can see Maymun asking him, what do you say about this? What's your belief? Now he's being affected. The more you give da'wah, the more you debate, the more you bring evidence to zul al-bid'ah, or to zul al-batil, or to zul al-ahzab, al-hizbi al-ghasaqa, as Sheikh Mukbil used to say, that the hizbiyu, those people of partisanship, they will vanish. They will vanish. But they will only vanish if the truth is to be told. They will only vanish if we have patience with the ignorant. They will only vanish if we rebuke the heads of this type of evil heresy. It will only vanish when we quote the Kitab, the Sunnah, statement of our Prophet Sallam, the Sahaba, and the statements of our Salaf, and they will only vanish when the people in the end change, like we will bring eventually the statements of Imam Nawawi in the end, how he changed from all of these effects of these deviant people, and in the end wrote his Aqidah to be in line with the Aqidah of the true Ahlul Sunnah and the people of the past. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us right. We ask Allah wa ta'ala to preserve the deen of Allah wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us understanding, insight, and purity of belief and actions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to allow us to fear the blame of the blameless. ولا يخاف اللومة لائم. ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يبارك في أوقاتنا ومجالسنا. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our time that we spend in our sitting. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for any shortcomings and to guide us right. ويهدينا and يهديهم إلى سبيل الرشاد, to guide us and those people of deviation to a guided path. So Sabek and the Nabina Muhammad. Any questions?
Yeah. So those deviant groups like the Mu'tazila and the Ash'ari, they never denied the ayats. They just changed it. They just wouldn't accept the meaning. They changed.
They did both. You have those that are ashad men, ba'd. Some that are more astray than others. Some of them outright rejected, and others didn't reject, but awwal al-ma'na, he changed the meaning. And this is what you find with the likes of Imam Nawawi, the likes of Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani, the likes with Imam al-Bayhaqi. They altered the meaning. They didn't reject the ayah itself. Some of them rejected the ayah. They didn't reject the ayah, but they rejected sifat. They say Allah didn't rise. That's rejecting the ayah. If you say Allah, He rose, but the meaning is this. Allah, He rose, but we can't say how.
This is bid'ah, because we say how? Jalalati, in a way that's befitting to His Majesty. That's why it's a So that's how. He knows how. We don't know how, but we say what is befitting. As Imam Malik when he said, "Istawa ma'lum wa yani or kayf majhul," and how it's done is majhul, meaning we don't know, but Allah He knows. Very important point. If you say it's not known, that means Allah He doesn't know either. You have to say with kayf majhul lana, but how He rose is unknown to us. ولكن معلوم لمن لله جل وعلا في أولى. It's known to Allah, the Mighty, the Sublime, because if you say Allah doesn't know, then that means He's missing some knowledge. You have to say Allah He knows. And how did Allah tell us that He rose? He said, بِمَا يَلِيكُ لِجَلَالَتِهِ. Yani the meaning is, and that's why Bukhari gave it the title, Uluwan, it's befitting to Allah's greatness. If you make it not befitting to His greatness, then you make it like humans, you make it low. Nah, you make it in a way that is superior to Allah's names and attributes. But if you say Allah He didn't rise above His throne, that's tantamount to rejecting the whole ayah. And some of them did that. But others said He rose, but rising means istola, counted. He rose, but we don't know how He rose. That's how they kind of work. So it's tabaqat, levels of them. Some of them denied the ayat by saying He didn't rise. Some didn't deny the ayat by saying He rose, but giving a meaning that's astray from the meaning that should be given. And that is Allah He rose in a manner that's befitting to His Majesty. And that's why Imam Malik, he said, Istawa ma'lum, it's known in the Quran, the Sunnah, wa kayf majhul. It's not known to us, but it's known to Allah. Wa yani wa imanu bihi yani wajib, and we have to believe in it. Wa su'al anha bid'ah, and asking about it is bid'ah. Then He commanded the man who asked that question, who knew better, who wanted to make fitna, who was stubborn, like they're saying these people are. They know better. He said, Kayfa istawa? How did Allah rise? It was ma'lum in Medina at that time. The aqidah of the Prophet wasn't that far removed from the hearts of the people. Talking about the time of Imam Malik. You know what I'm saying? So he wanted to make doubt in the people, and he knew better. So Imam Malik, after he refuted him, had him thrown out of the masjid, thrown out on his head, Radallahu alayhim ajma'in. So this is why they took strong positions, because you're playing with people's souls, man. Somebody believed that and died. Okay, maybe they have an excuse with Allah Azza wa Jal, maybe not. Maybe they really believe that. Maybe they, if you brought the whole of the Quran and Sunnah, they will reject it because it's sunk into their heart. They really believe it. Now they go to the fire. Well, they go to the fire. And, worse than that, in this life, what could be worse than that in this life is that now you change the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what they accused us of, to the point when they mentioned Muhammad Abdul Wahab and anybody during his time and, after his time, we change and we bring in a new deen. And they said, well, Ibn Taymiyyah didn't believe that. And no, we didn't mean that. They hijack and lie. They believe what we just say in the Salaf report. They didn't believe what these people were saying, but this is what they're twisting. And unless you know the statements of the Salaf against those statements of Imam Nawawi, not those who agreed with him who erred, the statements against him with evidence from the Salaf, then you'll think, oh man, those people came with a new way, Muhammad Abdul Wahab and those people. No, that's the deen of all of the people of the past from Ahlul Sunnah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from them. Allah Muslim. So the question is, some did negate the meaning, and some negated the attribute itself by saying Allah didn't rise. And the scholar said that's tantamount to disbelieving in the ayah itself. Allah Musta'an. And that's why Imam Ahmed said it's kufr.
And there are some groups, what are the groups who reject these ayats?
There's plenty of them. We just can't mention them all. We'll mention some, maybe just a list of who was the head leader, but The heads of them, the Mu'tazila, the Jahmiyyah, yani, and the Mu'tazila and Jahmiyyah, they are the modern day Asha'ir. They are the people coming out of Azhar. They are the people coming out of the Hanafi institutions. They are the people that are pushing this thing that we are astray, we are kuffar, and this is the problem that we're having with Allah Mustan for many centuries. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. So Saddaka ala Nabiyina Muhammad. Straight Omar.
Yes.
Sandwich time, huh?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Hey, sandwich. Lord Akbar. Not a Jahmiyyah sandwich either. Sunni sandwich.
To the Sunni.
Allah Muslim. Now, we don't want to do that either because the brothers